If you are looking to hit Legend, then this is the video for you. We'll be going over all the best decks from across the timeways to climb with, and a lot of them actually do have new cards. Anyway, let's not waste any time and start with the very first one, which is, to nobody's surprise, Quest Warlock, which, yeah, is not running any new cards though, but it's, yeah, exactly the same as before, right? You just try and rush the quest, especially with Solarium, play the quest, and then finish the opponent with Horizon's Edge and Corpse Skull. Yeah, not much new here. Then the second deck we have is the Fyrakk Rogue, and this one looks pretty similar, but it is running 2 new cards, or well, 5 new cards total in the deck, right? We got Garona Half-Orcan, and that means you also get the Kingslayers in your deck, which is really nice, because you can tutor your legendaries, right? Like an Narrowlex plus a dragon with it. And you put King Lane in the opponent's deck, which can actually be quite good, right? Just give your opponent a useless card. They never want to spend 3 mana on it, and you sometimes could just half their health. Also, it's running the new Deja Vu, which seems really good, right? Being able to see what the opponent has, play around it, and then also use their cards. I've gotten like a turn 3 release against me into a turn 4 release, and yeah, that is pretty strong. Those are the things you can do with that. So a really good card for Rogue. I think we'll be seeing that a lot in the coming year. And other than that, yeah, just the same Rogue deck as before, right? So fundamentally, nothing really changed about this deck. And then the third deck I got here is a brand new deck. No, just kidding. It's Egg Warlock with no new cards. I mean, it's just the same as before, right? Try to get your egg early with the Holy Egg Bearer. Play the Egg of Kalos, and then yeah, just try and kill it, right? Get multiple of those eggs, get that 20/20. And then if they somehow do with it, you play Umbra, and you get a full board of eggs. And after 20/20 or 2, and yeah, most decks don't really deal with that. And yeah, you just win then with the Dissolving Ooze as well. Potentially, if it gets frozen, you can just eat the 20/20 and buff one of your other eggs with it. So yep, still really strong deck. And the fourth deck I got is another brand new deck. Yeah, the Aggro Demon Hunter with no new cards. Don't worry, we'll get to decks with new cards later, but I do want to show the best decks. And so far, the old decks just look the best. So yeah, bear with me. But yeah, this deck just Aggro Demon Hunter, right? I mean, what else do I need to say? Just play minions early, go phase, and yeah, half your deck deals phase damage, so it wins really fast. And then we have another brand new deck with no new cards. It's Blood and Holy Deathlight, and yeah, it's pretty much the same as before, right? Got a lot of late game stuff, but it's also really good against the aggressive decks, right? For all the leech cards, they really work well into those aggro decks. Some of those we saw earlier, and there's late game so much power with the dragons, right? The 0 mana giants, the ceaseless, the infinite damage weapon, just a strong deck all around. All right, then we're finally getting to sort of new decks. I mean, it's Mech Warrior. It's pretty similar to before, but also a bit different, because before you really tried to tempo out your testing dummy, but you can't do that anymore. This deck is just a pure OTK deck now. You can't really win in any other way. And the OTK now is with the new card Chrono Lord Deos. And what you want to do with that is yeah, get Chrono Lord Deos on board. You could get it with the Chemical Spill if you don't have Tortilla, already played it, right? And then that's for 5 mana. You want to have played the Part Scrapper, so you reduce your testing dummy by 5. So then your testing dummy is 1, Chrono Lord Dales is 5 with Chemical Spill or 7, right? And then if you have the Boom Wrench equipped, you equip the miniaturized Boom Wrench, then you attack, and then basically you have 2 Death Rattles, but because of the Lord Dales, right, Chrono Lord Dales, the weapon is basically 4 Death Rattles, and then 4 Death Rattles proc the testing dummy, which then also doubles up with Chrono Lord Dales, so you get 8 of those Death Rattles, and then the 64 damage, and yeah, that kind of wins a lot, especially when you can do it as early as turn 6 with the coin or turn 7. That's how early you can do it, so yeah, that beats pretty much anything. I don't think any deck really survives that amount of damage on turn 7. And if you somehow face a deck that has more health, you can even wait a little bit and then get the second Boom Wrench, and then play the Miniaturize again on top of the previous weapon. So you get 4 weapon Death Rattles, and that is a ton of damage. That's 128 damage, and I don't think any deck survives that right now in Standard, especially not when you probably do it like turn 10 or 11. Then we have what looks like an actual new deck. Yeah, it's kind of an old archetype, the Weapon Rogue, but this one plays pretty differently, and it's running, again, the Garona, and the very important card here is, of course, the Kingslayers, because this card also lets you draw a bunch of cards, like the old Poison that lets you draw when you hit with the weapon, and then you can just get the late game damage, right? You get the Grifta for the Stealer damage, and you get Narrowlex plus Fyrakk tutored. So that's really strong, right? Especially with that Scoundrel again, right? Which you also tutor again with the raiding party where you get and the weapon and the scoundrel. So that looks really strong. You can hit the opponent a lot. We also got the new flashback card, so that works really well. Foxy Prod, right? You can play them both on turn 1 potentially with the coin turn 2, and yeah, you get a lot of stats early you can push damage with, and just a bunch of damage as well, right? With the Eviscerate and just all the weapon buffs you got, Sharp Shipment, Swarthy Sword Shider, just a lot of damage within this deck. And then we have the Herenn Death Knight, another archetype, which is kind of old, but also it's kind of new, right? Because it's running the new death rattle of Blood Somebody with the fabled card Talanji of the Graves, which I got to reveal. And yeah, it's really strong, especially if you get some boons to it, right? Get random 8 drops with it. It's really good. And then you have the Awakener Souls and Travel Security. So you've got a lot of death rattles that are really good. And then the Awakener gets either the Blood Somebody again, which is incredible, right? Because it's like a double rush lifesteal minion often that you get if you have both boons. And then yeah, Travel Security is system taught. And then 8 drops are pretty good. And this deck just has a really strong mid game with all those death rolls. It's really annoying for most decks to clear those. Of course, you got some survivability, you got the leeches, you got Pterodactyls, and then late game you've got the Umbra, like all death rattle decks, right? Where you just get a full board of 8 drops, or the death rattle minions themselves if you proc the Awakener, and that's just yeah, incredibly strong, right? Most decks just don't have the ways to deal with it, and then even if you have a board clear, there's all those death rattles. Just strong deck to climb with. Then we have the Aura Paladin deck. I got Legend with in my last few games, and this build is maybe a bit different than what you've seen at the start of the expansion, but it seems to be the build that actually looks pretty good. And why is that? It's because we're running Dorian in this deck, and that card works really well with the Ursa Maul. Because what you can do, right, is equip the Ursa Maul on 4, then you play Dorian on 5, and then you can swing, and then either you get 1 mana Fyrakk. I mean, that's pretty alright. And the next draw you have then is just Gelbin, and yeah, Gelbin is kind of what this deck is built around, and of course that's a incredibly strong play, getting those 5 auras. You got the 2 auras from Gelbin, of course. We got the Chronological Aura to get the taunts, Crusader Aura, so any board is threatening, and then the Resistance Aura just to be very annoying to your opponent. And then with the coin cards like Metal Detector or Manager, if you don't get like the Puppet Master Dorian, you can cheat it out on like turn 6 as well. And yeah, just most decks just don't deal with Gelbin very well when it's 3 turns in a row with a lot of stats. And then if you have the auras up, we've got the Manifested Timeways, which is a great way to clear and deal damage. And the plushie, good old plushie, we've seen this before with a lot of Paladin decks. It's also really strong if you get to aura, right? That is a big heal and a threat on board as well. Then after a bunch of decks with new cards, we're back to a deck with no new cards. It's Protoss Priest. Yeah, it's exactly the same as before, but it's still just a good deck if you're looking to climb and you don't have the new cards or anything, or you just want to play this deck, you enjoy this deck. And yeah, it's pretty much the same as before, right? Just play the early game. It feels like a bit of an aggro deck. Get especially Sentry back with Resuscitate, and then you just get a Mothership for very cheap. And that's a ton of stats you get. Now, I've seen people experiment with Chronolord Dales in this deck, and it can be good in theory, though I think it's slightly too expensive for this deck. But what you can do, right, is Dales, then you play the Mothership, so you get 4 Protoss minions instead of 2, with both the Battlecry and the Death Rattle if Dales lives. And then you can also play the Rogue cards, right, the Templars. And then if they merge, then at the end of the turn, instead of 8 damage, they'll deal 16 damage with Dales. So that can be really powerful, but I think most of the time it's kind of overkill, right? If you get to the Mothership late game, it's already looking pretty good often. So I think it might be overkill, but it could be something you could try if you want to play the new card, Chronolord Dales. Then we have a brand new deck in the Shreds Warlock, which is running a lot of new cards, right? Of course, it's running all the Shreds cards. The Ruinous Velocidrake, Fatebreaker, the Twilight Time Hopper, the Tachyon Barrage in the Entropic Continuity. Yeah, that's a really strong early game, right? Getting like turn 2, 4/4, turn 4, 7/7s. And that is if you don't buff the dragons with the Whelp, which can also be really strong. And of course, we also have the Devious Coyote, which isn't always as good. But if you do get it early with the Tachyon Barrage, it is pretty incredible. It can push a lot of damage. And then with the Horizon's Edge as well, that you were very well known from the Quest Warlock, the Corpsicle, right? These decks just can still deal a ton of damage. This deck is very fast, probably the fastest deck around. Like I've died to this multiple times on turn 4. It just does so much damage. It's just a good deck from the new expansion. Then we have a sort of new deck. It's like Aggro Hunter, but it's running the kind of no hands package with the Arrow Retriever. We're running the Keldrai Fletcher, the new fabled cards, right? Sylvanas, Illyria, and Verisa. We got even Wormhole here. I didn't expect this card to see play. We got Precise Shot. So very aggressive list that is running a ton of the new cards. And just like the Warlock, a very, very fast deck, right? This deck can win real fast, just super aggressive. We also have the RC Rampage. Still one of the strongest cards in any Aggro Hunter deck, right? This is just so many stats. And yeah, just tons of damage. You can fill the board real fast, and then you have some gas as well with the Arrow Retriever, right? To keep drawing, keep pushing that damage, and just another deck that wins really, really fast. Now the second Hunter deck we have is a little bit slower, but it can actually still win pretty fast. Don't underestimate it. It's the Discover Hunter. We've seen a lot of different builds with the Discover Hunter, right? Because Rangari Scout and the Exarch Nayal, just incredibly strong cards. This one is also running the Fabled package, but unlike the previous one, where you just use it one time, right, this deck can use it multiple times. You can, of course, get with the Scout again, just to get multiple Sylvanas, and that is really strong, right? This is incredible if you get it multiple times, especially if you play the other two, right? It's basically 6 damage, you do that twice. And we're also running the Brewmaster, which you could also copy, and then you can keep bouncing that Sylvanas for just incredible board clears. And of course, just like the old Discover Hunters, we got the Incendious, so you can get a bunch of damage in there. We've got the Grifta. If you get that 6 damage, that's generally the one you want to go for, right? It's a ton of damage, especially if you can save it for the Pupil, because then with Scout, again, Pupil can get you 2 of those damage cards, and if you have multiple Pupils, then you get even more, and just skills incredibly well. So just a very strong deck, and if you're looking for a slightly slower Hunter than the Aggro Hunter, this might be the deck for you. Then we have the Quest Warrior. Yes, it's an old deck, but it plays a bit differently. It's running a bunch of new cards, of course. It's running the Precursory Strike. This seems pretty solid in any Warrior deck now. It's also running the Unleash the Crocolisk and the For Glory, which I may have underrated this card a little bit. And yeah, because we're running Quest, right, the win condition of this deck with the Quest, besides the Quest cards, the other Quest cards, is Murozond Unbounded. Because of course, with this one, you can play the Quest reward, get Time Warp, play Time Warp to have an extra turn. You play this one and you guarantee to win pretty much next turn. So you don't actually need to run too many more win cons in this deck, right? You just want to survive. And then in a lot of matchups that is good enough, but then in like slower matchups or deck that stack a lot of armor, you got that Murozond win con. And once you get that combo, you just hope your opponent doesn't concede, so you can hit them for infinite damage. And then we have the second deck with Murozond. It's the Zarimi Priest. And yeah, this is Zarimi Priest again. This has been a staple in these lists for so long, although I think recently actually it fell off a little bit. But yeah, Zarimi Priest again, right? Just a Time Warp in a minion. It's just incredibly powerful. And yeah, that's never gonna stop being powerful. And this is just pretty similar to before, right? You just play the dragons, try and play them on curve, just curve out those dragons. Then you can clear some boards with Fly Off the Shelves or the repackaging, because you do want to hit the late game right with that Murozond, because often in most matchups, yeah, these dragons early on, they can be good, right? Like give Red Whelp into Pedal Peddler, that's a pretty strong opener, but if that doesn't happen, you're not very likely to win without the Zarimi turn. And yeah, in this deck, of course, because the Zarimi now with the Murozond, you don't really need to save any other cards for the Zarimi turn like before, right? Where you had to hold maybe some 0-mana taunts like we had, just to win with this, or with a Naralex and the Briarspawn Drakes, right? Those turns, no longer you need that. Now you just Zarimi, Murozond, and win the game. And once again, dealing infinite damage with that Murozond. It's pretty good. And the last deck I have for you here is another new deck, though. It's kind of an old archetype, right? The Aggro Shaman, but it's running a ton of new cards. Plays very differently, and it's running all the new Nature Shaman cards. Well, at least most of them, right? The Static Shock, the Lightning Rod, Thunderquake, so they work well with the other new cards. The Probody Overseer to draw card, the Flux Revenant. This can really snowball early on with those cards. And of course, we're running the Muradin High King with the High King's Hammer. That's what you're playing it for, of course. You can't just get the weapon with Muradin. You can also get it with the Weapons Attendant. So you can play the Pirate with this one, and then you just get the weapon from your deck, which is great, because then if you have Muradin in the hand, of course, you can use the weapon and then play Muradin to get the weapon back again. And then it's a 20 damage weapon. And on top of that, this deck has a lot of damage buffs as well, right? We've got the Static Shock, of course, multiple times. We've got the Skirting Death. I mean, that's just 8 damage if you can hit a minion with 4 attack. With the Wind Fury weapon, we got the Sand Art Elemental. So even if you don't have the weapon, you can still Wind Fury with that Skirting Death, or maybe the other card like the Adrenaline Fiend. So yeah, tons of damage in this deck, and just another very good aggressive deck if you're looking to play some new cards. And those are the best decks you can climb with. Yes, there's still know a lot of other new decks that you could be playing, but they're not quite the best to climb with, right? Like Rafam Warlock, I've played a lot, and you can still do fine with that, so don't be afraid to play it if you're looking to play that. These are just the best decks to climb with, the most efficient decks. Anyway, let me know in the comments, what have you been climbing with? What would you recommend to other people? Let me know. If the video was helpful, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and until next time.